If there's one message, the patriots, the constitutionalists, the voters of this country that love this country, if there's one message that they've consistently told Republicans is we want to be represented. We don't want to see all this ugly backstabbing and public displays of infighting. We can't seem to get away from it. Here we are again. But a lot of this goes back to the core of the Republican Party and what they really have, the cancer inside them. We've got to fix this. And the Tea Party had it whipped. What happened to the Tea Party? It worked so good they quit it? Are you kidding me? Who does that? What was the reason behind ending it? Why aren't the Republican politicians pushing it? Why aren't the GOP leaning media hosts pushing it like they did back then? They know it worked. Why did they all walk away from it? We're going to look at this because there's some real obvious reasons why, and there's some things that we can do on our own to bring it back. Because I tell you what, that was glorious. That was the most patriotic, fulfilling, inspirational, ambitious political event probably in our nation's history since the Revolution. Republican voters, with the energy and inspiration they had from a ground game that worked at neighborhood over the fence level, where people were activists in their own neighborhoods, doing their own thing, giving it all their best. The leaders rose among the people. Nameless, faceless leaders, most of them, and they got the job done. They knocked the ball out of the park. They turned over 62 seats in the House. They had a 62-seat increase. That is historic. It's never happened in that form ever in the history of the country. So why did the Republican Party run away from something that was working so well? We're going to talk about that. That's going to be a short video, but there's things in here we need to know because we need another Tea Party effort. We should have never quit the first one. We wouldn't be where we are today if we had. We've got midterms coming. We need a ground game. There's nothing coming together. The Republican Party is doing nothing again. Where is our ground game? Heading into 2026, we could lose the Senate right now. Democrats are energized. They're crazy, but they're working. They're organized. They're managed. We've got to get a ground game together, and nothing has ever worked better than the Tea Party the Republicans abandoned. Trump needs it because Trump doesn't have a party behind him right now. He's having to do everything by executive orders. Where is the congressional action? We're right back to the same Republican Party we had before the Tea Party. We were mad because they weren't fighting then. We rose up and told them, but we also told them we were not going to go back to sleep. We own and control this country. This is not going to happen on our watch. This is not the country that we're going to leave for our kids and grandkids. That's what we all said. Well, here we are 15 years later. They didn't get the memo. They forgot about it just as soon as they could. That's not good enough. That's not good enough for us. We put too much work into that to see them blow it all and bury it all and get right back to their same old ugly infighting, foot dragging, lack of accomplishments, bending for the Democrats. It's just pathetic. We're right back where we started. The Republican Party didn't learn anything. We've got fewer good Republicans in Congress now than we had then. And we turned it all over. However, here's what's really disappointing about it. After we did the Tea Party, and we turned over the 62-seat increase, guess how many of those people joined the Tea Party caucus once they got into D.C.? All those people go in there, the first thing they get is an orientation. And then they all meet privately with the leaders of the GOP. I call it taking them to the woodshed. They take them in the back and they tell them what's what. They even tell these guys how much money they have to bring in periodically as donations. And the people, it's just like the mafia, unfortunately. The people that can produce, the people that can bring in donations and kick a percentage up to the bosses, just like the capos kicking it up to the godfathers, the people who can produce, the earners, The ones that can pay the vig up the chain, they get their bills introduced in Congress. They get the good committee positions. They're the ones that get the most political favor, right? Right back to the money again, like it too often is. However, what were those people told when they went in there all fired up with the ambition? 62 seats turned over, 62 seat increase. What were they told in those orientations that kept them from joining the Tea Party caucus? Why wasn't it any bigger than that? 19 out of 242 members of Congress? 19? Why was there such a poor showing? Every politician in the Republican Party cashed in on the Tea Party effort, the effort that we gave, because all of them got their donations increased across the board. All of them reaped the benefits in popularity and finances. And all the new people that went in there, once they got there, they wouldn't even join the Tea Party caucus. How about dancing with the girl that brought you? No, they got in there and they turned their backs on the voters. They were told to. Well, first of all, we got to remember the Tea Party caucus didn't start from the GOP. It wasn't organic either. It started when Rick Santelli, a money guy, was on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange floor. And he was mad and he screamed, "We need a new Tea Party." That got picked up by GOP media. They were happy because they were in the anti-Obama phase and they ran with it. Well, one of the things they do constantly is analytics on their shows to see what's popular. That was a real popular show when they were talking about the Tea Party. So they pushed it. And then it just started to grow. And all of them got behind it. A lot of those media hosts, they were adding an extra hour to their program. You pay $5 a month and you get the bonus hour dedicated to the Tea Party. Sean Hannity and others, they start running out, organizing rallies across the country with Lee Greenwood, Toby Keith, other big patriot musical stars. They were basking in the glory of it and raking in the cash. All of a sudden, you've got people, the Tea Party patriots, traveling around the country in buses, holding rallies, organizing rallies. But then when it came down to it, when media is asking, hey, who's in charge of this thing? Who do we talk to? Who's the bosses? Oh, there aren't any bosses. No, these guys are just out there in their cowboy hats driving the buses around. People were writing checks to the Tea Party patriots. Tea Party patriots were traveling around bringing in millions. And that's what happened to the whole thing. Yeah, it was politically successful because it changed the vote and it got people to bring out good candidates. They scoured their neighborhoods, they scoured the state legislature, they found good candidates and they brought them in. They won. But a lot of people cashed in. As soon as the election was over, boom, all of a sudden, right-wing media quit talking about them. They talk about them once in a while. They'll mention them. They like to act like they're still in support of it, but that's not what happened. Since they killed off the Tea Party after the 2010 midterms, where are all the patriotic rallies now with all these media stars? Why aren't they getting together with these patriots like John Rich, Ted Nugent, all these great patriots that draw crowds, all these musicians that they were hanging out with before? Why aren't they out having those rallies now? Why aren't they telling their audiences, you own and control this government, like they did during the Tea Party days? You own and control this government. It's about the people. Learn your Constitution. Learn the details. The power is in the people, not the parties, not the government. Why did they kill off that message? They're sure not doing it now. They cashed in then, and it was a good thing. And then they walk away from something that is highly successful. That tells you there's something rotten on board the ship. Michelle Bachmann was in charge of the Tea Party caucus in Congress. She seized all action of it. She quit scheduling meetings. Nothing was done. There were no more bills released from them. There were no more meetings. There was no more Tea Party caucus activity. It ended immediately after the elections. Jim Jordan, Michelle Bachmann, Ted Cruz, Ron DeSantis, a whole lot of people who were popular GOP figures, they had a meeting. This wasn't publicized, but they decided to launch the Freedom Caucus. Why? They already had the Tea Party Caucus. Why did they just kill it? The problem with the Tea Party Caucus is the people learned we own and control this government. Everybody was saying it. They were making signs that said that. They had T-shirts that said that. You work for us. People were talking about, look, we've got all this power. We've got all this momentum. We've got all this money. We showed we can do it. We're not getting the results we want. We'll start a new party. Bingo, right there. That's what killed it within the Republican Party, because that scared the GOP senseless. They cannot allow that. It's not about what's best for the country. It's about what's best for the party. It doesn't matter what the Tea Party did for them. It's like, what have you done for me lately? They scared them. So they shut it down and they started the Freedom Caucus, and the Freedom Caucus has done nothing. We didn't need the Freedom Caucus. We had the Tea Party, except it had the name party. They didn't want a competing party because they knew the Republican Party was dead. They knew that that 160-year-old entrenched party that we aren't supposed to have in the first place, they knew that the people had risen up and they were talking, they were taking back their power, and in Washington, D.C., that is not allowed. That's why they killed it off. Party insiders killed it off, and almost all of them are still in there as the career politicians that the Tea Party said we didn't want. Here's Ted Cruz, still in there. Now he's talking about running for president in 2028. Why? All the guy does now, basically nothing in the Senate, but he has time to write books. He has time for a regular podcast. While he's on salary at $174,000 a year for us, all he's got time for is side hacks, side jobs. The guy's not doing anything for us. Jim Jordan sounds good, but he's not effective. He gets out there and he makes a lot of good arguments. Doesn't really go anywhere. The secret to being successful in Congress is you have to build a coalition of other congressmen and then get your legislation through. They aren't doing that. They aren't even fighting. They go out there and they complain, and then they walk away and they'll say, we need to do this. We need to do that. We're going to have to get God back in the schools. They don't do anything about doing it. Here we are. What was our agenda this year for this Congress? We wanted to end the Department of Education. Trump ran on that. He promised it. That's supposed to be happening. Where is it? Yeah, they've cut some money, cut some jobs. That's like trimming a tree. What happens after you prune a tree? The growth explodes. Trump had to do it all with executive orders because Congress isn't acting on the agenda that we elected, that we voted for. Because, once again, it's the Republican Party serving the Republican Party. It's like George Washington said. Parties, those vile entities that seek to grow power and become government unto themselves, that's what we're faced with, and we worked too hard. We put way too much into that Tea Party, and we said that we weren't going to let our kids inherit the mess of 2010. How many of those kids have become legal adults and tried to start families now? At this point, the average American first-time home buyer is 40 years old. In 2010, when the Tea Party patriots said enough is enough, we're not giving this to our kids, we're not leaving them this mess, it was 30 years old. 30 years old was the average age of a first-time home buyer. We wanted to bring that down. Now it's 40 years. The Republican Party didn't hear us. We're not getting the results that we fought for. It's getting worse. We worked our tails off. We did everything we could, and the Republican Party benefited from it, and our families are not benefiting from it. I have kids right now around 30 years old trying to start and build lives. A lot of us have kids and grandkids trying to build a life in this mess. It was hard enough back in the glory days of the 70s and 80s and 90s. It was hard enough. It took a lot of work back when times were good. And the Republican Party has not done anything to preserve, to return to those times, to fix the problems that are ailing us, that is making it so hard. Now we are giving our kids the nation that we promised we were not going to turn over to them. We were going to fix it on our watch. We need Tea Party 2.0. And this time, we're not going to let the money changers and the con men from the Republican Party take it over. The Republican Party co-opted the last one. They tried to make it a Republican thing. It never was. But they turned it into that, and they had the help of right-wing media. Because right-wing media, they go to dinners with these people, in and out of office. They all go to the same places. They hobnob. They are friends. They work together. You got to remember, we don't have free and independent media. All of our media is biased to one party or the other. All of the national media, all the big names. That's why so many young people are finding alternative media sources. They're not getting into this. They see through it. Unfortunately, baby boomers, Gen X, that's how they've always lived. We used to know that. We knew that during the Tea Party. And then it all fell apart because there has to be a ground game. Now, unfortunately, we're heading into midterms. What is happening? What's going on out there? There's no GOP ground game. Look at no kings from the Democrats. Of course, we think it's stupid. They thought the Tea Party was crazy. They thought it was just a bunch of kooks. Pelosi said we were violent rhetoric that just terrified her. Of course, the other side is going to think the Tea Party's nuts. Well, that's why we think No Kings is nuts. Personally, there's some goofy people out there, but it works. The Democrats learned what the Republican voters forgot. A ground game of actions sells. No Kings protest is the Democrat version of the Tea Party. They watched it happen, they learned from it, and they are doing it, and the Republicans are not. They're letting the Democrats steal their ground game, repurpose it, bring it back as theirs, and it's working for them. Not only did Mondami, New Jersey, and Virginia turn over in that election, there were horrible wins. The elections that we just had, but there was countless small elections and local elections for people on advisory boards and all sorts of things across the country. The Democrats won them big because they had inspired voters who turned out. It's the No Kings. They're inspired. They're charged. It's the No Kings are the Democrat Tea Party. We don't have a response. We need the Tea Party 2.0 because we've got to make these Republicans start listening. If you agree and you want to reignite the patriotic passion of the Tea Party movement, get the people back in charge of this country again, like we told them we would remember, then I hope you'll subscribe and come back and listen because we're going to have some more episodes about this. This has really got to be done. We did it once. We proved we could do it. Now, our future generations are getting let down in real time. The Republican Party is not getting the job done. Our Constitution and our citizens are not represented by a political party in this country, and we've got a president in there that's abandoned. Trump needs a party behind him. He didn't have it in his first term. He doesn't have it now. Congress is dragging their feet. They just let the Democrats blow 40 days. They've only got a few days left of this session. We've got the holiday breaks coming up. The GOP is doing nothing. They're not passing anything. We wanted them, like we were saying, get rid of the Department of Education. We wanted the socialism out of schools. We wanted to end the corruption of the National Education Association, the teachers' unions that are fueling these No Kings protests. We wanted equal justice. We didn't want Democrats that are too big to jail. There's all kinds of evidence against a lot of big Democrats, and nobody is even being charged. Pam Bondi's not getting the job done. We all know it. Congress isn't pushing for any of this. We want Islam under control. We want paper ballots, voter ID. Yes, the state set the agenda, but the leadership comes from the top. There are no congressional accomplishments. There is nobody in Congress pushing for any of this. They all come from states. What are their states doing? Where is the leadership from the Republican Party? The MAGA agenda that we voted for and we got is dead on arrival with the GOP Congress. They do it every time, and we're done with it. We need a Tea Party because they aren't getting the job done in their party. They're not even talking about that now. What are they doing? They're dragging their feet. We've got a serious problem with the footprint and expansion of Islam in this country, and it is dangerous to our way of life, our form of government, our neighborhoods. Nothing is being done about it. Nothing is being done about anything we wanted to, except the things that Trump is doing. We're getting a little bit of help from a couple of the states with the immigration problem. Not enough. But where is Congress on the agenda? Nothing is happening to bring down the cost of health care. It's not the insurance that's the problem. We're getting ripped off by these hospitals and doctors. Nothing is being done to stop the fraud from the hospitals and the doctors, the bill padding, the overcharges, $25 for an over-the-counter Tylenol if a nurse hands it to you. Come on, we're being ripped off. Congress is doing nothing about it. Everything good that is happening is being done by Trump, and the next president who doesn't like it can just sign an executive order and throw it all back out. We've seen this. It's exactly what happened with Biden. The Republican Party might not learn from it, but we do. The constitutional patriot citizens of this country, we know. We know. We've seen it before. We know that the Republican Party ditched us. They used that Tea Party. They threw it away, and that isn't good enough, and that's not going to happen. We need Tea Party 2.0. TP, that's a turning point. This needs to be a turning point. Charlie Kirk was right. Turning Point USA, TP, the Tea Party 2.0, turning point. It needs to be a turning point because right now, nothing's changing. Trump is out there alone. They're giving him the Serpico treatment. They're letting him take the shots through the door while they all stand back and say, oh, yeah, we got your back. That's not good enough. We're not fooled. We're not done. We really need the Tea Party. We need the feeling of patriotism, the energy, the inspiration, and we need people talking about our Constitution again. Where is all that? If you're involved in any kind of social media or you're watching and listening to the news, you don't hear people learning our Constitution, studying it like we did that. Those were glory days. Everybody loved it. The patriotism that beat through the veins of all inspired Americans in the Tea Party area was a wonderful thing. We were learning our true power, and that is why they killed it off. It's up to us to say, it's not dead. This is us. You think you made it go away? This is 2.0. FAFO. We've got to get this right, my friends. And if we do, maybe God will continue to bless this great country of ours. Thanks for listening.